Welcome to this video on how the bookies operate. Now, this is not going to teach you heaps about sustainability and defense yet, but it's going to give you the required context so that you can then understand how the bookies operate. At the end of the day, how you're making money here is as a result of understanding the corporations, the businesses that are providing you this opportunity. So if you don't understand them, you're going to decrease your chances of being able to make money off them. Because if you understand what their aims are, what their goals are, what their strategy is, you can then apply that knowledge and use that to your advantage. So in this video, we're going to go into a lot of the stuff about how the bookies operate, but more specifically, we're also going to go into why they ban, what they look for, and basically how they do it. There's going to be an additional video on how they do it after this one, but once you understand how the bookies operate, that's going to then enable you to applying the extra sustainability stuff, which will follow in the long 2-hour video in the next part of module 1. So why is it so important to understand the bookies if you're a match bettor? Well, I'm just going to start off with a quote here. I'm not sure who it's by, but basically the quote says, "The opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself." What does that mean? Well, it's taken from the full quote here. I don't want to confuse you too much, but basically the full quote says, "The opportunity to secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself." Basically, you can say this. This is my interpretation of it. If you understand how the bookies operate and how they are going to try and manipulate you, you can basically protect yourself and not lose, okay? If you secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands. So if you understand the psychology, if you understand the tricks, if you understand what they're trying to do against you, you can prevent yourself from being defeated, e.g., not lose, okay? So if you understand, okay, the bookie's telling me to do this, I'm going to do the opposite, then you're not going to lose. So you can't be defeated. But if you actually want to defeat the enemy, well, they're providing you with an opportunity to do that. And the opportunity that they're providing is actually the promotions, the specials, the offers, the bonuses. And if you're smart enough, if you nail this first, you don't lose, you stay strong in the mind, you stay emotionally in control, you stick to a correct staking size, you apply mathematical edge where possible, you do all those things that have been discussed in module 1 around mindset and all this stuff, the deep dive into psychology, then you've ticked that off, right? So if you're a gambler watching this, you need to tick that off first. You can't be defeated if you want to defeat them. If you are getting defeated, there's no point trying to win because you're just eventually going to get defeated anyway. So learn how to not be defeated first, but then once you understand how to not be defeated, you then have an opportunity to defeat them as well. Now, we're never going to defeat the bookies. Obviously, as a business, we'd hope that we get big enough where we're having an impact, but realistically, this is all a drop in the ocean compared to what's actually being lost by a massive amount of people in Australia and the world. But the opportunity of defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. So the bookies are giving you promos through their greed, and they're trying to incentivize everyone to join and whatever else. So if you're smart enough, you can actually take advantage of what they are providing. And that is what match betting is. So this is why this is important. So let's move on to the next part of the video where we're actually going to explain what the bookies do, how they operate, and ultimately how they're going to manipulate you. And when you're aware of that, you can delete those things and then you can take advantage of this stuff. So just to reiterate what I've just said there, you've got two things first. How to not be defeated. Basically, how you're going to do that is you're going to understand the strengths of the enemy. And how to defeat is you're going to understand the weaknesses. So weaknesses being promo, specials, offers, bonuses. Strengths being the psychological manipulation, the tools, the tricks, the stuff that they're doing in their marketing to basically do that. And how we're going to achieve all of this is we're going to apply an inversion method of thinking. What does that mean? An inversion method of thinking means you think of the things that you would do if you were going to be the worst possible punter. What type of things are you going to do to guarantee that you're going to lose long term? Those things might be betting emotionally, betting when you're having a few drinks, betting when you're angry, betting when you're stressed, betting when you're on drugs, if you go out and do that kind of shit. Betting in a way where you're chasing your losses, emotionally charged. Betting in a way where you bet more when you win. All these kind of things. Betting on same game multis. Betting on lots of multis. Betting on things that you know deep down are not going to win long term. Betting on markets where you are going to lose. These are the type of things that if you wanted to lose the most amount of money, then you do them. But if you want to not lose, you do the opposite. So the inversion method of thinking is not thinking about how I can do the best and how I can win the most. It's how I can lose the least. And when you lose the least, you then put more money back in your pocket. At the end of the day, it's just profit and loss. If you're losing less, then you're not going to lose money. So let's just take two different individuals. Let's just say one of them is betting a ridiculous amount every single week. And by the end of the year, he loses $30,000 a year. That's his average loss, $30,000 per year. But in that time, he also has wins. So in the time, he lost 30K, but he actually lost 50K and won 20K. So his total wins were 20K and his total losses were 50K. Yet he lost 30K. So when gamblers say, oh, I win a bet, I profit sometimes. It's like, no, your total profit and loss is just a number on a screen. It's just your wins minus your losses. If you're winning $20,000 worth of bets, but then losing $50,000 worth of bets, you're down $30,000. So if you take the same person who is, for example, losing $30,000 on that year and he stops betting altogether, yes, he's not going to win $20,000 the next year, but he's also not going to lose $50,000 the next year. So therefore, he's plus $30,000. So by not losing, you've now put $30,000 in your pocket. So that's an inversion method of thinking. And if you think, well, what are these things that I'm doing to make me lose? I'm going to do the opposite. And the same goes with match bettors when it comes to sustainability and defense. We're going to apply the inversion method of thinking to, okay, what would the biggest rookie match bettor do? We're going to do kind of the opposite to that, but that's more in the 2-hour video that's going to follow this. Basically, if we can understand the enemy, then we have the ability to not only learn how to not be defeated, but also how to defeat them. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so why do the bookies exist? Well, flat out, the real reason is basically have a guess. Write it down on a piece of paper, pause the video, and I'll tell you in 4 words what their reason is. To take punters' money. That's it. That is the reason of a bookmaker. And if you think otherwise, you have been conned. Now, what the bookies are going to tell you, and even some people who are basically there to justify their behaviors, is they're going to tell you that it is entertainment, it's fun, it's a bond with your mates, it's to enjoy sport and enjoy racing more, and whatever other bullshit that's sold to you. But once you have this kind of reality check moment where you realize, fuck, Sportsbet has been created to take my money and everyone else's money, I think you can have a different perspective on this all. And as stupid as this sounds, a lot of people don't see the bookies as a business. They don't see them as they have been created to take my money. They see them as these cool lads and funny things and bet with mates and all these things. And they forget at the end of the day that this business is an organization of potentially thousands of employees of some of the bigger bookies that is designed to basically do as much as they can to take punters' money. That is their goal. So what you need to understand next, after I've just given you something that should be quite obvious, but now needs to be understood, and a lot of people don't understand this, but the only way a bookie wins is if a punter loses. So they're playing a zero-sum game. What does that mean? Well, a zero-sum game is a situation in which one person or group can win something only by causing another person or group to lose it. So in other words, the only way the bookie makes money is if you lose money. If you didn't lose money, they can't make money. And their whole business has been set up basically to do the following: make more money in the most efficient way possible with as little friction or costs as possible. What does that mean? Well, basically they want to take as much money out of you as they can in the most efficient way without costing them money. Because if it costs them less, they make more. If it costs them less, they make more. I've said that twice because you need to understand that they are a business. Everything they do is to make more money, and to make more money, they need punters to lose. So what are they going to do? They're going to chase losing punters and compound those people and multiply those people and chase that person and strategize and invest resources into these kind of punters. And they're going to limit and eliminate winners. Pretty straightforward. If a customer is costing you money, take them out of your business, exclude them. If a customer is making you money, then compound your resources and multiply your resources and invest your resources into those customers. Pretty simple business practice. Hopefully you're starting to think now. Everyone knows that you're going to lose gambling, yet so many people still do it. So that brings the question, how do you make people lose money? How do you do it? As a business, as a betting company, how do you actually get people to put money in your company without making them aware that they're losing it? Well, this is fully genius shit. This is where the bookies have genius psychological tricks that they know exactly how you think, what you need to do, how you need to be told, and ultimately how they can manipulate you. Now, a lot of people, it sounds stupid, but a lot of people don't actually know that they're losing money. As stupid as that sounds, a lot of people aren't aware of how much money they're losing. A lot of people aren't aware of their habits. They aren't checking their betting statement. They have no clue it exists. They are mindlessly basically doing these things. However, that's only being created because of a number of psychologically manipulating things that the bookies do. They fully manipulate your psyche to do what they want you to do. But how the do they do it? How do you make people pay you? You're essentially scamming them. But how do you do it? How do you get the same people doing it over and over and over again without them waking up to it? Well, there's a list here that I'm going to go through. It's long, but it's not even touching the surface. I could make a video on this that goes for 100 hours and I still wouldn't finish, because there is so much information here that they do, and so many tricks and so many little things that they do that you're not even aware of. And hopefully now I can share some of them with you so that you can understand them and be more aware of them. First and foremost, now this might not be in the correct order, but for you to bet or for you to lose your money, you need to have some kind of hope that you can win, okay? Tuts Lotto. Why do people play Tuts Lotto? They don't play because they know they're going to lose. They play because they think they have a chance of winning. So the bookmaker needs to provide the dream, the hope, and the idea that you can win, or you can take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of them to make money. How else are they going to make you put money in there? You're not going to put money in there if you think you're going to lose all the time, are you? Maybe some people would still. But reality is, most people think that they can win and win big. And that's the first thing. The second thing is, and these aren't in any order, they're going to give you incentives. So these incentives can be, hey, if you deposit $200 this weekend, we'll match it with $200 of free bonus money. Now, obviously, this can't be done anymore since the legislation that came back in 2018 around bookies cannot incentivize you to, hey, Harry, sign up to us and we'll give you a $200 bonus bet. But what they can do, and this is how f***ed up the legislations are, is they can wait until you've signed up and then they can say, hey, Harry, if you deposit $200, we'll give you a $200 bonus. But they can't do it before you signed up. And back in 2018, a lot of my mates, when I was match betting heavily, they said to me, match betting's done. The sign up offers are gone. Free bets are gone. I'm like, nah, watch this. There was a legislation that got built, and probably for about a couple of hours, I was a little bit worried about it because I was making good money. I'm like, here goes an opportunity gone. And then funnily enough, the legislation got pushed, and then the bookies just give you the offer after you sign up. And they can't say, hey, if you sign up, we'll give you 200, but they can say, hey, Harry, if you put 200 in, we'll match it up to $200 in bonus bets after you sign up. And that legislation is an example of how they just find a way to still get what they want done. So those incentives are also not just deposit matches. You can get redeposit matches. There's also like partial refunds. So for example, when you are doing things on a sporting event, you might get a partial refund of your stake, or you might get a bonus bet back. A classic one of these is the same game multi promotions. They guarantee a bonus back on sports bet for any leg fails. So they're guaranteeing that you're placing a bet knowing that you are thinking it's a free hit because your next bet is a bonus bet. And I'll put a screenshot on the screen, which I saw in a Facebook recently, is someone actually interprets this as a free hit. He thinks that he's getting $50 on that bet and it's a free hit because he's getting a bonus bet. What he doesn't realize is he's lost $50. He might win, but then he's guaranteed to get a bonus. So he's placing the bet to get a bonus because then he sees that bonus as a free bet on something bigger. So ultimately what he's done there is he's placed 2 bets, minimum, unless it wins. And then from there, you're probably going to place a bet anyway if it wins because you'll go again. From there, he's placed 2 bets. So he's moved along that spectrum of addiction into the hypnotic cycle. And Sportsbet knows this. And they are basically incentivizing the person to place a bet which they want him to place, which is the same game multi. Because same game multis, believe it or not, are one of the bookies' best markets. Because they know that if you place them, you're going to keep getting addicted to them. And they know that that's a really profitable product for them. And they know that if you keep placing those bets and you get addicted to it, you're going to make them a lot of money. So why would you put a bonus bet lure in front of it? Because they want you to place that bet. And wake up, Australia. If you're getting conned by this, this is what they're doing. They're making you addicted to that best product. This product has been hammered for the last 4 years, since 2019 when it came out, or 2020. And this has been an absolute craze in Australia. If you pull 1,000 people out of a crowd in the MCG and all below the age of 30, I'd say 920 of them would have placed the same game multi in their life. And that's how fucked it is. Because they might not be addicted to it. They might not all bet 30 of them a weekend or 10 of them a weekend. But this little idea of doing that kind of behavior is going to make you addicted to the potential big payout, combining with the hope of big wins and then the incentive of a partial refund, the thought that you're getting a free hit, etc., etc. They're going to make things super convenient for you to be able to use their platform, okay? They've had crazy progressions in these tools and functions over the past few years. Things like black book notifications. You bookmark a horse, which, oh, that horse finished the race well on Randwick race 6 on a Saturday. I'm going to bookmark it because the next time it runs, I'm going to back it because it nearly won that time. It came home like a train. But what you don't realize is in the next race, that horse isn't running against the same horses in the same track, in the same weather, with the same jockey, in the same barrier, whatever, in the same distance. So you've just gone, okay, you've emotionally attached yourself to that horse, black book. Okay, let's send a notification to Harry every time that horse runs because he's black booked it and he'll bet on that horse. So these are the kind of features and stuff that happen. You've also got the bet with mates tool. You've got the fact that if you put a lot of people in a group that are betting together, they're going to be more encouraged to gamble. You put young males in that group. You add leaderboards. You hit their ego. You say, oh, look at this guy. Harry's the best punter in this group. He's beating Tom. Tom's only made $200 this month. Harry's made $500. Tom's going to have a crack now at doing a bigger multi than Harry. And you're just hitting the ego of a male in a way where they're going to lose more. And if you put those individuals in a group together, it's convenient. They don't have to count up the money. It's not like a punters club where you got to note it and count everyone's deposit. You just put it in, everyone's in, place the bets, done for you, convenience, multiply the habit. You've got a crazed nation of losers. From there, you also add things like the same game multi tracker. You add things like the form thing for disposals, for goals. When you go into the sports bet app, you've got how many goals that person has scored in the last 5 matches, how many disposals they've got. You don't have to get off their app, because you don't have to do your own research. It's done for you. Sportsbet's done it for you. Stay on our app. It's really cool. You've got the popular same game multis. You've got popular tips. You've got the actual, the hot tip. You've got tipsters that are doing all these things for you on their app and ultimately just compounding the convenience of it all. You've also got things like Apple Pay, where you don't have to put your CCV in on the card anymore. You just press a button, use a bit of Face ID, and you can deposit quicker. I've not mentioned half these things, but these are just tools in which it makes it easier for you to lose, and it's convenient for you to stay on their app. The longer you stay on their app, the more money they make. I've also said it's easily accessible, which also means not only just Apple Pay and things like that, you got apps which go at a stupidly fast rate. You can now watch the races on the app. What's the point of that? Well, if you stay on the app for longer, you're more likely to then bet on the next race after you've watched it. And the act of you watching it, as opposed to watching it on your TV or having to go to a tab, you can now just go bang. Bank account, money on the app, digital money, not notes anymore. Press button, click. You can also do things like not submit the bet twice. So example, you can turn off the submit function where it just auto submits the bet. These are just added layers of ability for you to lose faster and easier and more conveniently. Crazy. Basically encouraging habits that are addictive. How they're going to do that? They're just going to make you do shit that is addictive. Same game multis, add more legs. We'll give you more offers. We'll add boosts on your multis, the more legs that they give you. Bet365, I think they've got a special. Every time you add another leg above like 4 or 5, it adds another percentage of boost that you could potentially do. What's that going to do? Well, it provides the hope of a bigger win. It makes you do more legs, incentive, and then it gives you an addictive habit which you enter into. They're also going to encourage betting patterns that are basically unsustainable for you and sustainable for them. Same game multis, more legs, add random stakes. Don't encourage unit size staking. Don't talk about a bankroll. Just tell people to bet in a fun way with your mates. Do it when you're high, do it when you're drunk, do all these things. Do it when you're angry, do it when you're stressed. Chase your losses. Compound that with the commentators saying this is the get out stakes on the last race of the day. If you've had a bad day, here's a chance to get out. All these kind of things are all just compounded and worked to geniusly con you and make you feel it's normal. And then they can create a culture where they've got influencers and people that are basically doing this. I'll go into that in a second. And it's just a whole hypnotic, repetitive marketing strategy where they're basically creating a psychological manipulation to take your money. Be aware of it. We're not even getting into the juicy stuff yet. Let's move into that now. All right, so you just heard some of the stuff that I mentioned around how to actually make people lose money. But with all of this psychological manipulation, you basically need to also create a culture which accepts it and normalizes it. And how you do this, I've already touched on one of them. It's bet with mates. You can also use influencer marketing. So people that are heroes to young people, like your Nathan Browns, who should have won a Brownlow. You've got your Brennan Favolas, might not be a hero to a lot of people because everyone knows he's a gambling addict and is now part of advertising with BetNation and companies like that. You can use people like Georgie Parker, who's maybe an inspiration to a lot of females because she was a high-level athlete. Then you've got people like Brennan Goddard, who shouldn't have won a Norm Smith medal. You got people like Billy Brownless, who's a funny character. You got people like Dale Thomas, who used to kick goals for a living from pockets and torpedoes and grannies and stuff like that. And I haven't even mentioned half of these people. If you got away with it, great stuff. But ultimately, if you get a lot of these people and even influencers like Angry Dad teaming up with Dabble, and you've got characters out there like young kids who start podcasts, and these little companies swoop at them and give them sponsorships and say, hey, if you go live on feed, you got like the Inspired Unemployed who basically go and team up with PointsBet and get paid like a couple of $1 million to do a couple of ads, things like that. You basically create this culture which then thinks it's normal for everyone to bet and lose and all this stuff that's happening. And then you basically get people to go to another level. I mentioned Nathan Brown again, but you script him on a Thursday to read out tips for your company and then pump them out for every single game over the weekend. And then you pump that through the TV before the match starts. And then you pump that through the news and everything else. And you pump it through everywhere. Eventually, everyone is going to basically do that behavior in a much higher level, on a much higher frequency, on a much higher scale. And you basically repetitively hypnotize people. This is how marketing works. You say the same things over and over again until people do them. The news does the same thing. If they got an agenda, they just pump it and they repeat, and they repeat, and they repeat, and people just eventually do it. You put ads everywhere. You get the AFL to sponsor with Sportsbet. You get people like Gil McLaughlin who sign off deals where the AFL gets a cut of the turnover on AFL matches. And then you just pump the ads everywhere on the website. You go on the tipping app and you look at the website. You go on the AFL app and it's got a 12-year-old who is reading that and it sees, hey, Dad, what's like $2.50? Oh, that's odds. You shouldn't worry about that. Oh, but it's there on the app. It's just everywhere. You go to a game, an ad pops up. You go to a game, there's a billboard of Bet365. You go to bloody anywhere and you can't escape the shit. And then you've got sponsorships. It's just everywhere. It's just compounded. You got the manipulation happening. You combine that with influencer marketing. You make it funny. You make it cool. You make it humorous memes and all these kind of stuff. You joke about people losing. Oh yeah, you're one win away from your first big win. You're one win away from getting back all your losses. You're one win away from that multi that's going to make you a millionaire. Dreaming. And this is what they sell you, the dream, and they compound that. They also got, this is the most morbid thing, is they actually target market to you. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We actually did a podcast on this. I would encourage you to watch it a little bit deeper than this potentially. But if I told you that there are humans out there that are working for a bookie and their job is to befriend you and get close with you, and their goal is to make you lose as much money as possible. And how they do this, they're called VIP managers or account managers. Most people would never know they exist or wouldn't have seen one before. But these things happen as a result of the bookie chasing and compounding the most valuable customers, the most addicted people, the ones that make them the most amount of money. They're going to invest the most amount of resources into them. So they're going to actually allocate you an account manager. So you might sign up to a smaller bookie. This is not as much on the bigger bookies, but it still happens on them. But a lot of the smaller bookies will give you an account manager. So you'll get old Jan calling up from, and she'll offer you a $500 match as soon as you sign up. And then she'll message you, hey, Harry, I can look after you this weekend. If you put 200 in, we'll go again. And then let's just say you lose that. You might have a chat with her. Hey, Jan, I've lost some money this weekend. What do you got for me this week? And then she doubles it. She goes to 400. And then she goes to 1,000 after that month. And then all of a sudden you've lost, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000 for that month. She goes, hey, Harry, I've got $1,000 for you this week if you put it in. She is getting paid a commission to make you lose. She has criteria and turnover things that she needs to tick off as her job. Her job is to make you lose. So imagine that. She's texting you personally. She's getting in your face. She even offers you AFL tickets. She gives you a corporate box access once you start losing a lot of money. And all of a sudden, you're now down 10K, but fuck, oh, it was nice. I went to that corporate box with 3 of my mates and they're fucking sick. What a company. They gave me free box tickets. Brother, you paid for the box tickets with your punting, and that's why Jan gave you them. So this is the kind of shit that happens. And then they even send out texts at times where you've deposited in the past. They might know when you're getting paid based on their algorithms. So you might have deposited 6 out of the last 10 times on a Thursday at 6 p.m. So, okay, let's send Harry a text message at 5:30 because 6 out of the last 10 times he deposited then. Fair chance he's going to deposit again the next week at the same time. Send him an offer. Targeted marketing. This is the type of shit you are competing against as a punter, and you have no hope. You are dealing with organizations with thousands of employees who know exactly how you think, how you operate, and ultimately how to get the most money possible out of you. Remember that when you're punting. That's a rant for anyone out there who has been gambling. I know you probably don't want to hear this if you're not a gambler, but at least you're aware of it. And now we're going to get into some of the other stuff in terms of why bookies actually offer promos in a little bit of a deeper fashion. Now, I've already kind of touched on a lot of these things, but why bookies offer promotions? You may know promotions as like second and third bonus back offers on a Saturday on a horse. You may know them as guaranteed bonus back on same game multis. You might know them as boosts, tools, whatever, bet backs, bet returns, whatever you want to call them. But basically, they're a lure for new customers to sign up. So if a new bookie has a new feature, companies like Surge often offer overpriced odds on a team. The team might be paying $1.30 and you can get $3 on them to win. That's a great way for you to get onto their app. A little bit of a marketing cost. Yeah, cool. You probably win that bet, but eventually then they're just going to pay a marketing cost to get you on their app and then you lose on their company. Provides you a reason to sign up. It's also a lure for existing customers to basically increase their spend on the app. If you're betting on a certain app and you're incentivized to do so, you're more likely to lose more money if you have a reason to do it. Now, there's a bonus bet 12% rule, which is really crucial to understand. As a betting company, this is an unofficial stat, but it has been in that range and spoken about a few times. Bonus bets to a bookie are valued at a negative 12% loss for them. So what does that mean? Well, if they give away $10,000 worth of bonus bets across a number of customers on a Saturday, they expect to lose $1,200. 10,000 by 12% is $1,200. So they understand that most likely some of those punters are going to win, some of them are going to lose, but ultimately it's going to cost them around 12% of the total bonus turnover. So that's like a marketing cost. So if they've got their stats on lifetime value and how much it costs them to acquire a customer and how much you're worth to them, then of course they can factor in this 12% marketing cost, which ultimately gets them to the position to acquire you and get you addicted to that cycle. It's an advertising cost to get you into their addiction cycle. And as a match better, a bonus bet to you is going to be worth 80% because you're turning it over via the stuff that's going to be taught with Betfair and the Platinum Squad. If you're someone who's just done the free course, you can turn any bonus into 65% of its value. So all of a sudden, you can actually use their greed and turn their bonuses into guaranteed profit. But if you do it too many times or in the wrong way, without the right information, you'll get banned and they'll take your bonuses away from you because all of a sudden, you're not operating like they want you to. So all of a sudden, you fall out of that 12% rule because your marketing has actually cost them more money because you're not doing what they want. So, but the moral of the story here is they offer you that because they want you to do that and incentivize you to use those bonuses in a way where you're moving along that addiction spectrum. You're becoming a hamster on that wheel and you keep going and going and going. And they make you addicted to that behavior. But they gave you that bonus bet at the start to make you addicted to it. They incentivize you. They lured you in with that little carrot and then they've got you on the hamster wheel and you're stuck. So that's why they offer promotions. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of a downer on this video. And obviously, myself personally, I made $300,000 off the bookies through my 20s, which isn't a lot of money. A lot of people are making way more money than I did now in our community. There are people making 30, 40K a month. But the unfortunate reality is this. Matched betting can only exist because 99.5% of gamblers lose long term. Let that sink in. Because 99.5% of people are losing their money, 0.5% of people are able to take advantage of some of the most simple ways to make money on the earth. It is the simplest, easiest way to take free money, tax-free money off companies who are greedy because 99.5% of their customers lose. That is the unfortunate reality. Australia is the worst nation on the planet when it comes to gambling per capita. That means that we lose the most per person on average. We are a fully hypnotized nation. As a result of the previous stuff that I've spoken about in this video, we are the worst nation on the planet. If you want to learn how fucked up this nation is, do yourself a favor and join a few Facebook groups. Don't listen to any of the tips in there, but just go in there. One of them is blokes and their bet slips. Now, something I didn't mention in the previous part around how the bookies compound this psychological manipulation is they actually add affiliates in there as well. So affiliates are people out there who can get sign-up links, and as a result of getting those sign-up links, They get a percentage of either your losses or a fee every time you sign up to the betting company or the bookmaker. These groups, especially Blokes in Their Bet Slips, is one of the biggest groups in Australia for this. The owner of that group has a Ladbrokes and a Neds affiliate, as well as a number of other bookies. And if you sign up on those links, you then basically pay his wage. And if you lose a certain amount of money, he gets that in his profit. But if you wanted to know how fucked up people are in Australia when it comes to gambling and how literally conned they are and how, I guess, low IQ when it comes to their betting, just go in one of those groups and just read a week's worth of posts or a day's worth of posts, and you'll see even the comments. It's pretty eye-opening stuff, and it's a good way to educate yourself on how not to do, to apply the inverse way of thinking, to do the opposite of what those people are doing. Back to the point though, matched bettors are a drop in the ocean when it comes to the bookie, right? Most bookies, obviously the smaller bookies, are going to get affected way more by a match better, but companies like Sportsbet and Tab, a match better is literally a drop in the ocean. We aren't costing these companies enough for them to care as much about this, because so many people are losing. And when so many people are losing, when the majority are losing, there will always be opportunity for people at the top who take advantage. This is how the world works, unfortunately. In every industry, this happens. If you go into the trading industry with currency, if you go into crypto, if you go into stocks, the majority of people are losing their money. And as a result of that, the people at the top, the whales, are the ones taking advantage because everyone else below them is losing. Get used to it. This is how the world works. So you can either choose to become a winner or you can choose to continue to be a loser if you are gambling. That is your choice. But please be aware of how this all works. Now, if you're watching this and you're a matched bettor, you may have heard the following quote: "Keep your friends close, but your enemies even closer." Well, what does that mean? Well, if you know how the bookies operate and you understand their business model and you understand what they want you to do, then potentially you can do what they want you to do while still taking money off them. Well, how is that possible? Obviously, we're not going to teach you how to gamble, but if you do the behaviors that they want and you do the stuff that we can teach you to do those behaviors while not losing money, i.e. hedging and doing stuff like that, then you're basically going to keep them happy while still taking dollars off them. And that's the aim of the game here. If you're a match better, you need to understand all of these things, but you can't just operate in a way where you're doing the opposite, because if you do the opposite, they're going to ban you. And if you're doing the opposite, you're not a good customer for them. So you still need to act in a way which you are trying to keep them happy, but deep down, we know that we're taking money off them. And some of that money, they don't actually know because it's getting spread across more bookies. If you're doing this across 20, 30, 40 bookies, whatever, you're doing it with Betfair and stuff like that, the spread isn't like, you're not taking, if you're making 4K a month off match betting or 10K a month off match betting, you're not doing that across two bookies. If you're doing that across two bookies, they're obviously going to ban you because that's just unsustainable for them. But if you're spreading that load, if you're diversifying your profits across more bookies, they don't actually know that you're making that much money. You're just taking little bits. You're taking a little bit from each pie. And eventually you get enough crumbs, you have a lot of pies. And that's the aim of the game here. Now, in the video that's going to follow this, whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're watching this in the Platinum Squad, you're going to see the video which basically talks about what the bookies look for. And we'll go into a deeper dive here. But essentially what they're going to be looking for is your betting behavior. They're going to watch your turnover ROI. So they're going to measure like how much are you turning over, how much are you betting in total, and how much are you losing or profiting. If you're turning over a lot of money and you're not losing a lot, you're probably a worse customer. You're definitely a worse customer for them. But if you're losing $500 and it only takes you on average $1,000 to bet to lose that $500, then you're a way better customer for them because you're basically turning over 50% ROI for them. Their profit on turnover for you as a customer. If you're betting $1,000, not every bet loses. But if you bet $1,000 on average to lose $500, then obviously you're a better customer than someone who takes, $50,000 worth of betting across 6 months to lose that $500. That's just like the value. They're going to assess your value as a customer to them. So they're going to assess your promo use, how you use it. There's way more details here and more factors in the video that I spoke about. They're going to assess your profit and loss. They're going to assess your overall patterns, but we'll go into that in another video. In the Platinum Squad, it's going to be the next video. So how are they actually going to do all of those things that I just said? I'm going to quickly go into it, but as I said, it's going to be more explained in the next video. They're going to use algorithms to profile you, assess your risk to them, assess your value to them. They're going to manually and automatically assess your betting patterns. They're going to track your website data, your cookies. They're going to track your location. These are kind of things that aren't that relevant. They're going to target losers and double down on high value customers, and they're going to remove the risky customers or the customers that aren't worth a lot of money to them. Plain and simple. So let's finish this video. If you're watching this, you would have learned hopefully a lot about how the bookies con you. But as match bettors, the aim of the game here is to take money off these bookies without them knowing. and in a way where we can keep doing it for as long as possible without basically giving away our disguise. And one of the OG analogies we used to use when we started off the Platinum Squad back in 2020 was the analogy of bananas. Now you're thinking, what the bananas? How is that relevant? So in Australia, approximately 37,000 tons of bananas are discarded by farms every single year because supermarkets don't want them. Now, in this analogy, the supermarket is the bookmaker. And where I'm going with this is the reason why bananas get thrown away is because they are too bent, too short, too long, they're too skinny, they might even have defects on them, a couple of brown spots, whatever. And basically what this is like a bookmaker. A bookmaker is going to discard the bad bananas, the customers who aren't making them the most amount of money. And the reason why supermarkets discard these, if you're wondering, is because if you put a weirdly shaped banana on the stack of the pile, the theory is that a customer doesn't want to buy the bananas. So you discard them. You only put the really cool bananas on the pile. So as match bettors, knowing this, our goal is to basically look like a good banana while knowing we are a bad banana. How are we going to do that? Well, the good bananas act in certain ways. They act in ways in which they act in degenerate patterns. They bet in certain ways. So you're going to try and do that while still operating like a bad banana. And if you nail this and you apply all the things that are going to be taught in the next parts of the videos in the Platinum Squad, you're going to learn how to become what looks like a good banana to the bookie while remaining a bad banana. Weird analogy. Bookies throw out the bad bananas. They keep the good bananas just like the supermarkets. So we're going to try and disguise ourselves as much as we can for as long as we can. In the next video, we're going to dive deeper into how the bookies actually ban you and what type of things they look for in a little bit more detail. And then after that, you can get into the biggest video in the Platinum Squad, which is a 2-hour plus video on going into every single little thing that you can apply to your accounts to make them last as long as possible. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any of the new content. If you're wondering what else is in the Platinum Squad, that was just a snippet of about a 20-minute video out of the 20 hours worth of video content and the 1,150 member Discord, filming this on June 28, 2024. Ban bots, all types of different information. This is from module 1. There are 4 modules. There's a heap of different information. And if you're not making at least 20, 30K off the bookies every single year, ask yourself why not? And if you're losing, hopefully you can watch this video, send it to a mate, explain to them, look, these are the type of things that are actually tricking us to gamble the way we want to do. Let's stop together. Send them across this video. Give it a like. Ask a question in the comments if you want. But if you're looking to get involved with match betting, we have a free course in the description. You can even book a free call. Do that first. And then if you want to get involved with the Platinum Squad, you might even find a cheeky discount code in the description if you want to jump straight in. This is, as I said, just one little snippet of 20 minutes worth of content out of 20 hours worth of content in the Platinum Squad. See you in there.